Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. Okay, so good to see all of you again. I've got a very big update coming out from the White House that I'd like to share with you regarding the U.S. peace plan for Ukraine. New information has come out now that U.S. President Donald Trump was on a phone interview with Fox News, and he stated that Ukraine would begin to lose land very quickly, and Ukraine needs to sign this peace deal soon to avoid more losses. Here's the new story on your screen. It says Trump warns Ukraine will lose more land if no peace deal is signed. President Trump argued Friday that Ukraine's military will soon collapse in the face of Russian pressure if Kyiv doesn't agree to a much criticized plan to end the conflict. So, very interesting information breaking today. And this ties into a story I shared with you guys earlier this morning with our last update video for the Russia Ukraine war. We had a report out of Reuters, a mainstream news publication, that U.S. will withdraw military support for Ukraine, including intelligence sharing and weapons transfers by November 27th if Ukraine does not sign this deal that's going to be on Thanksgiving next week. Okay, so I wonder if that has anything to do with this. I wonder if Trump is claiming that when they withdraw this military support for Ukraine, that's when Ukraine's military will begin to collapse, and the Donbass could obviously be lost if that's the case to Russia anyway, militarily, versus through this peace deal. So Trump's kind of saying either sign the deal and just get it over with now, or you're going to lose it militarily. So just wanted to throw that in there in case those two stories match up together. But we're going to talk about this. I'll show you guys a whole report discussing this, and I'll show you a clip of Trump speaking on Fox News while he stated that. Also, other news I want to share during this video. Trump also reportedly stated he will keep the pressure on Russia with sanctions, and he may be planning more aggressive sanctions soon. You guys will see that information in just a moment on this article. And also, I have information regarding statements that Russian President Vladimir Putin made today during his meeting with the National Security Council out of the Kremlin. This is mostly in regards to the peace deal, and we'll talk about that also because I mentioned to you guys earlier that that Vladimir Putin was going to be meeting with top heads out of the National Security Council to discuss this peace deal with Trump and Zelensky. So let's jump into this. Let's hop on over to a mainstream news report from United 24 Media. This is directly out of Ukraine. It says Trump gives Ukraine until November 27th to decide on peace plan, promises new sanctions on Russia. This is coming out today, November 21st, 2025, right here. And the information reads, U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that Ukraine has until November 27th to agree to a peace plan, calling this deadline an appropriate time, the president said during an interview with Fox Radio on November 21st. He mentioned that while he has had many deadlines in the past, if things are going well, deadlines usually get extended. However, he emphasized that Thursday, November 27th, is the target date for a decision. When questioned about the proposed Ukrainian territorial concessions in the peace plan, Trump remarked that Ukraine will lose land soon, adding they are losing land, is what he said. Trump also made it clear he has no intention of lifting oil sanctions on Russia. He revealed that he plans to impose very powerful new sanctions against Russia in the near future. Previously, it was reported that U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham revealed that Donald Trump privately urged Senate Majority Leader John Thune to advance a bipartisan Russia sanctions bill, which now has support from over 80 senators. CNN reported. We talked about that recently, so I'm not sure if that has anything to do with these sanctions. I'm assuming that that's probably the sanctions that would get put onto Russia, is what we're hearing is if the Senate and the House and Congress pass this bill, this could possibly put sanctions onto Russia's trading partners and obviously force an end to this war. If Russia is not, able to sell to other nations, it's going to be very difficult for them to produce an income to fund this war, obviously, right? So it does talk a little bit over here also about, Ukraine having to sign this by November 27th when it comes to this peace deal. So that was also Trump confirming that November 27th is the deadline. Okay, so they've got to sign it by Thanksgiving. We'll see what happens here because we've been hearing that Ukraine and Europe have come out and rejected this plan outright. They are not going to agree to it. And we also heard that Germany could possibly be stepping in to make some amendments and producing a whole new document to present to Trump in terms of trying to create a plan for Ukraine that better benefits Ukraine versus this original plan from Trump that really heavily benefits Russia. So let's jump on over to X now. I've got a couple things I'm going to show you guys over here as well with Clash Report. It says Fox, Ukraine will have to give up land that they have not lost in war. Trump says they will lose it. The Fox News reporter says the whole Donbass, and Trump says they are losing land. Okay, so I want you guys to see this and pay attention. At 1.2, when Trump starts speaking, you can actually hear him laughing in the background as he's talking about Ukraine losing this land. Take a look.
It looks like Ukraine has to cut their personnel to 600,000. It looks like they got to give up some land that they have not lost in the war. They cannot join NATO.
They will lose in a short period of time.
The whole of Donbass.
They're losing land. They're losing land.
It looks like
Okay, so if you listen closely to Trump as he kind of cuts the reporter off, he says they are losing and they will lose in a short period of time is what he says. And then the reporter comes out and says, well, are you talking about the Donbass? And then Trump just says they're losing land. And while he's stating all of that, he's actually laughing in the background. So it seems like he's expecting that Ukraine is going to collapse very quickly if they probably withdraw the support, if they know Ukraine is not going to sign this deal. So is that going to happen? Do you guys think this will be the case if the U.S. withdraws support for Ukraine? And do you think the U.S. will actually do this? Or do you think this is just some sort of pressure tactic to force Ukraine to sign this deal? I'm very curious to see how things are going to play out, but this is what Trump was warning about today, is that Ukraine is going to be losing the Donbass, maybe even more, because he didn't technically state the Donbass. He just said they're losing land, right? So very interesting. Finally, I want to show you this from ViceGrad24 breaking. Putin made a statement regarding the U.S. plan to end the war in Ukraine. Here's some of the key points that Putin stated today. Russia has received the 28-point U.S. peace plan, which could serve as a basis for an agreement with Ukraine. Okay, so he's confirming that Russia does have this 28-point peace plan from the United States in their possession. During the meeting in Anchorage, Russia agreed to show flexibility in its approach to a Ukrainian settlement. So he's talking about all their major demands that pretty much tie into this entire peace plan to begin with. The U.S. plan for a settlement in Ukraine has not been publicly discussed in detail. Only general outlines have been shared. Okay, I thought that was interesting too. So is this Vladimir Putin claiming that Russia is not agreeing to this completely, that he's saying they agree to it in general? So that sounds to me like Trump does not have the Russians or the Ukrainians agreeing to anything yet. The Russians are only saying they agree to the general outlines, okay, that they're open to it and willing to discuss it. Interesting. The text of the plan has not been discussed with Russia in detail. There's more information that they obviously have not agreed to it yet. The objectives of the special military operation are being pursued through armed struggle, but Russia is ready to resolve issues peacefully. So yeah, apparently Vladimir Putin was also claiming that the Russians have control of like Kupiansk. I think recently the Russians have been claiming they took over Bakrovsk. Ukraine has come out and basically said those are all false. Those are lies coming from the Russians, that these major cities on the eastern side of Ukraine, for example, Kupiansk, is still under Ukrainian control. The Russians have not taken it over yet, but those were apparently some other things that the Russians were claiming during this meeting. Russia is prepared for peace negotiations, but this requires a detailed discussion of all aspects of the proposed plan. So see, it's going to take, much longer than a week for all this to get done. I mean, look at the last time we had the Istanbul talks. That was probably, 3-4 weeks or longer that Ukraine and Russia were negotiating, and they came to nothing in the end. No deal was signed. All they did was really release some prisoners, and that was it. The U.S. has so far been unable to secure Ukraine's agreement on the peace plan. Okay, so yeah, we know Ukraine and Europe have disagreed or decided to reject this plan today. Now we've got the Russians coming out and saying directly from Vladimir Putin that they know about this plan. They're still reviewing it. They agree to it maybe in principle or in general, but not completely. They're not saying they're willing to sign this. So how are we going to have an agreement to end this war if the Russians on one side are barely even claiming they agree to it, and then Ukraine is coming out saying they don't agree to it, yet by next week on Thanksgiving, we're supposed to have Ukraine signing this. So I don't know what's going to happen over here. We're seeing a lot of crazy stuff come out from all this information breaking, but I'll continue to follow this story as soon as I get more updates for you guys. I will let you know. But comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on all this information. I want to thank you very much for being here. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.